I feel a personal connection with Peter Drucker because for several years, you could say we were neighbors. I was at Pomona College in California from 1983 to 1988, while he was a professor at Claremont Graduate University just 2 blocks away. It would be great if I could say I knew him, but unfortunately, we never met. Still, I like to think that his thinking overlaps with mine. I have the good fortune to be exposed to 3 different areas: business, social welfare, and politics. And one of the things I have learned is that we cannot totally separate these things. Let's take the recent financial and economic turmoil as an example. That crisis had all sorts of causes, some of which maybe we are still trying to understand. They include things like imbalances in global savings and consumption patterns and low interest rates. But it is also clear that management attitudes, especially in the financial services sector, play an important part. It would be interesting to know what Peter Drucker would have to say about this if he were alive today. One of his famous quotes, and I'm sure it's been used earlier in the day, is that the traditional theorem of maximization of profit has to be discarded. And since the financial crisis broke out, a lot of people would certainly agree with that. Drucker was the person who introduced many of us to the whole concept of management culture. And it seems clear to me, looking at the mess in the American housing market and the investment banks, that a poor management culture was one of the causes of the turmoil. Drucker told us that managers must convert society needs into opportunities for profitable business. Yet, what many finance companies were doing in the years leading up to the recent crisis was almost the opposite. They were creating opportunities to make profit out of things that society did not need, like the mortgages for people who can't afford mortgages, or the debt packaged into highly leveraged derivatives nobody understood. Drucker's view was that profit and social responsibility go together. That suggests that the more successful you are in maximizing returns, the more you should be involved in the world around you. Yet sometimes the opposites happen. The people making the biggest profits and the biggest returns on equity and the biggest bonuses are sometimes the most remote from our society. They may have made big donations of money to charity, like us in Hong Kong, but they are not interested in finding solutions. They don't think much about the government policy or the welfare of the disadvantaged. They don't care about the effects of their decisions on other people. But what did the boom years of the subprime loans lead up to? People have become homeless, families with children, people have lost their jobs, other people have seen their savings collapse in value or their career prospects decline. Here in Hong Kong, where we have been partly sheltered from the turmoil, we have seen vulnerable people lose their investment, and many unskilled, less advantaged people left further behind. Drucker's core work involved how to manage organizations. In his earlier days in the United States, he examined General Motors, the biggest company around then, but it was more than a company to him. It was a social organization. He was the first person to go into the big company and look at things like its distribution of power, its politics, its flow of information, and its culture. In other words, he saw the similarities between GM and the bigger society. And in later years, he went further. He suggested the company was a part of the society and in some ways worked for the society. In order to look at what this might mean in a Hong Kong context, let me go back through my own experience of the relationship between the business and the other sectors. Many people of my age in business were brought up to believe in certain things. We were told the whole point of business was to create shareholders' value. Nothing else mattered. We were told to focus on return on equity, ROE, making more money. Anything that did that was good. That's Hong Kong, isn't it? I suppose this attitude goes back to the 80s, the days of the Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher. There was a time when deferred pay and stock options took off in the banking sector, and the bonus culture began.